Welcome to How I Got Here, hosted by seasoned educator Jeremy Proper. This is a podcast of conversations with his former students discussing their journey from middle school to where they are today. Guests highlight their successes and the life lessons learned along the way. And now let's welcome the host, Jeremy Proper.
Welcome to How I Got Here with Mr. Proper. I'll be talking to former students who will tell their story of their personal journey from Mr. Proper's class, aka Club 128, to where they are now. Everyone has a different path to get to where they are now, and that path may just be the beginning to where they actually want to be. In these podcasts, I hope to tap into the journeys that my former students have taken, for them to share their experiences with my current students, and for that matter, anyone else who is interested in seeing how hard work in and out of the classroom actually pays off. Let's welcome today's guest, Jacob Angelino. Hey, Jacob, how you doing?
I'm good. How are you, Mr. Proper?
I'm wonderful having you on here and getting to connect and catch up and see how you're doing after 7 years, I think we said it's been. It's incredible.
Yeah.
Time flies, doesn't it?
Sure does.
Unbelievable. So please take a few minutes to briefly introduce yourself. Please include when you left the Don, where you went to high school, college, and if there's a post-college, and what you're doing right now.
Thank you, Mr. Proper. So, my name is Jacob Angelino. I grew up in Boca my whole life, and I went to Don Estridge from 2014 to 2018. So I had Mr. Proper in that stretch, but I'm sure he's exactly the same now as he was back then.
You're too kind.
Thank you. And then after starting from 2018, I went to Spanish River for high school until 2022. And since then, I've been in my bachelor's for computer science, and I'm currently a senior in my degree. And I currently work as a freelance music composer in my free time.
Nice. Where are you currently attending college?
UCF.
Oh, awesome. So was engineering, computer science, was that the original goal? Was that what led you to UCF, or it just kind of blossomed while you were there?
Yeah. So ever since I was a young age, I loved like technology and code and all that kind of stuff. I actually applied for Don Estridge not because it was just known as a good school, but because I wanted to get into the tech academy. I don't think they have it anymore, but They had the tech academy that was being taught by Mr. Stansel at the time, but he left right before I came in.
Oh, wow.
And
didn't realize that. Yeah, Mr. Stansel is great.
Oh, he's awesome. I took like after school classes with him. He's the best. He's
Nice.
Definitely a big aspect of why I love what I do now. I had Mr. Thing though. So Mr. Thing taught that, and he's amazing.
Yeah, that's awesome. Yeah, he's still there. He just won the baseball championship for the first time in 16
awesome.
years. And yeah, things are going really well for him as well. That's so nice, giving the shout out to the old teachers that are some still there. Awesome.
Yeah, definitely tell him I said hi, because he's
sure.
awesome.
Oh, without a doubt. He'll appreciate that.
But yeah, so then the Don definitely took my interest in code and tech from like, I'd say like a 7 to like an 11. Like, no pun intended. Like it like definitely like really helped me want to do this as a career. But also at the Don, I started to develop my love for music through the band, and that kind of created like a conflict of interest where I didn't really know if I wanted to go to school for music or for computer science. And in the end, I ended up choosing computer science, and I decided to continue the music stuff on the side. And I think it was the right decision to go with.
Nice. So what was the instrument of choice back at the Don? Were you in Dr. Becerra's keyboarding class? Were you in band playing an instrument? What was your thing?
I was in band with Mr. Fraley playing the instrument. I played the trumpet, and
Nice.
Mr. Fraley was definitely another big aspect of turning me into who I am today. But yeah, I played trumpet for 7 years, and I wish I could still play it. It's just I have no time with college now. But I still use all the stuff I learned in band to compose my music for my clients that I do in my free time.
Oh, Mr. Fraley will love to hear that. That's awesome. So were you introduced to the trumpet in middle school, or had you already played that and you just continued?
Well, it's actually funny. So my mom actually kind of forced me to do band. I didn't want to do it. I hate saying this now because I love orchestral music, but at the time, I was a kid, and I thought orchestral music was all just boring and it's like you fall asleep to it. So my perception is that that's what school band would have been like, was me just doing that. So I really didn't want to do it, but from day one, I love Mr. Fraley, and he gave us songs like the Star Wars theme, the Indiana Jones theme, Uptown Funk, like all music that we know and love.
Right.
So I fell in love with band really early. Sorry, really early. And one instrument, like he told us that we could choose an instrument, but he kind of directed us towards ones that we'd probably be better with. And from the start, I really wanted to do trumpet because a game I was playing around the time, it was a Pokemon game. The trumpet was used a lot in its soundtrack, so I really liked the sound.
Nice.
So I thought I want to play those songs, so I want to play the trumpet, and that's kind of what led me into it. And it's still my favorite instrument ever. I love it, so I'm
That's
glad
so
I made
cool.
the right choice.
That's so coincidental because growing up as a kid, my neighbor directly behind me, his brother is, I want to say he's like 4 years older than us. And Scott was just a virtuoso trumpet player. Like I had never heard anybody other than like on the radio, Chuck Mangione or somebody like that playing trumpet. And Scott would be out there and he'd be playing. And then all of a sudden one day Eric was out there who was my age and my friend and he was playing. And so I was like over the house one day and Eric and Scott were playing and I'm like, there's really only like three things you push. How hard could this instrument be? Dum, da dum, dum, dum. So yeah, of course, I tried
It's
it and I
hard.
was like, I can't do this. This don't make no sense to me. Meanwhile, I'm listening to them every night with the windows open in the spring and the summertime, and they're playing and it's beautiful. And I'm like, why does this not work for me? And then I realized how hard it is to play, even though it only has three keys. It's a very
Yeah,
difficult instrument.
it's all in the lips. It's like it treats the lips like because the lip is a muscle, and it's about how
Yeah.
you vibrate your lips. So it's a workout every time you play it. It's
For
hard.
sure. For sure. And it's just like, I don't know what it is, but like I have a really good ear for music and I can tell you different songs and I hear different things. But as far as like the translation of, okay, I know that song, here are the chords, I should be able to play that. And I struggle with that myself. I've been playing guitar for a large portion of my life and I don't hate to admit it. I have no problems admitting it. But my wife is such a better guitar player than I because she can sing, play guitar. She plus she started playing guitar when she was a little girl. So it was just like going back to something like riding a bicycle, something you haven't done in
Yeah.
a long time. But like when she adds the singing aspect, I'm just like, wow, it's incredible how good she is. She just has musical talent. I believe her grandfather in Cuba was a radio actor, and my wife has those talents and abilities where I'm just like constantly struggling. And it's funny, I have an acoustic guitar at school and I play from time to time for the kids. And,
Oh, that's awesome.
yeah, they're amazed. And I'm thinking to myself, I suck. And they're like,
Mm.
no, you're really good. I'm like, well, I've been playing for a long time and you're a child. So, and then, you try to explain it to them that, in a guitar, the left hand is for the chords and the right hand is for the rhythm and the melody. And, trying to get the two of them on the same page. And they,
It's hard.
again, yeah, it is. They don't realize how complicated it is until you try to like put it into words. But you just don't give up. You keep trying, you keep doing, and eventually it happens, and you just go with it. I don't want to be, in a rock band, even though oddly enough, I was talked into that one year at the Don. One of the assistant principals put together a band, and because we're the Dragons, he called it the Dragon Band. Like dragging, like we're old. And
That's awesome.
yeah, we played my okay. When you performed for the first time in front of people, how many people would you say you performed in front of?
It was at the winter concert at Don Estridge, so I'd
Okay.
say around half of the basketball stadium was full, I'd say.
Okay. So when I performed in front of people for the first time, it was at a pep rally, and there were 1,900 people there.
That's crazy.
Yeah. So the first time I ever performed in front of a group of people live, it was almost 2,000 people. I know friends of mine who are professional musicians who are like, I haven't even performed in front of 2,000 people. What are
Yeah,
you
that's
doing?
insane.
I'm like, it was at school, And so it was really fun, and the kids were blown away, and it was pretty cool. And then we also got to play a dance, which was nice, so a lot less people.
That's nice.
But yeah, it's cool, and I don't anticipate to go out and be a rock star. I just want to play for my own well-being, and it's fun. It's something to do, something to learn. And music is great. It's if you can produce it, it's just such a wonderful thing. I'm so glad that you've stuck with it. And now, like you said, you have this career where you're producing music. What are you producing it for? What is it? What is its purpose?
It's I could do every style pretty much. So really anyone who needs music, the most common is for video games.
Oh, nice.
because a lot of video games, like niche communities, will make like fan games for these really old consoles like the Game Boy and the Super Nintendo, and those songs aren't just like modern game consoles where you can just play an audio recording.
Right.
They have like specific code instructions that are being played on like the sound chip. So they would have back then actual sound programmers that would read the music the composers make and write code for the sound chip to play.
Wow.
So that's actually one way I combine kind of my major with my passion is
Nice.
I really like coding this old kind of music from the music I write. So a lot of clients who are working on these games,
Right.
I don't want to sound conceited, but a lot of people who work on it who do that kind of music are programmers first, musicians second, so the music isn't great.
Right.
I kind of stand
It's
out
just your
in that scene.
because you were music first and programming second. That makes a huge difference. So
I compose the music with those limitations in mind and kind of make the most out of them, and I am pretty successful in that community because of that. So that's where most of my commissions go, but I've done stuff for like, you know, short films at my school. I've done stuff
That's where it all pays off. People don't understand that music spans everything. Like, I can't believe that you're even saying video games now. Because like you said, it was always like computer generated, like, you know, like ridiculous stuff. And now all of a sudden it's like, no, we actually have composers and people who are doing it. It's funny you say that. I had a friend in high school. Her name is Jennifer. And we were hanging at her house one day, a whole bunch of us. And all of a sudden I noticed like there were all these like keyboards and a reel-to-reel and all this recording stuff. And I was like, why are all these instruments here? What does your dad do? And she was like a little bit embarrassed. And she's like, he makes elevator music. And I was like, excuse me? She's like, you know the music they play in elevators? And I'm like, yeah.
Awesome.
He makes it. And that's exactly what I said. I'm like, that is so cool. She's like, I'm normally really embarrassed to tell people that because who likes elevator music? I said, it has nothing to do with that. Somebody has to make it. It's got to be made by someone. And that's what I think people miss out. Like, they don't realize that what people have to do in order for them to make a living or to, like you said, do something to do in the music business. It doesn't have to be, okay, I'm the lead singer of a rock band, you know? You can do music in other capacities. And that's so amazing that you found that, especially at such a young age where, you know, you can take the best of both worlds, like you eloquently said. You have your coding and you have your music and you're doing them together, whereas most people are better at coding than the music. And plus, I would imagine, Jacob, that's what makes you stand out even more. That's what makes you really go to the forefront when it's like, yeah, I know how to do both of these things, but I know how to do them well. It's not like I can do one well. A lot of people can do coding. I mean, as we discussed earlier, ChatGPT and AI can do coding for you, you know.
Unfortunately, the good thing is the music is one of the things that it can't do. You know, you can get AI generated music that's a recording. You can get AI generated code, but right now it can't really come up with that distinction between the two. So
it can't make it itself. It doesn't understand how to do that, and thank goodness for that, because otherwise you'd be out of two jobs.
that would be horrible.
Without a doubt. Well, first off, thank you so much for coming on and telling my students about your life experiences and your stories, and even me, because I knew that you were into the music, but I didn't realize how much you were also into the coding aspect. So now that brings me right up to speed. So jumping right in, how did you, in the beginning, if you can remember this far back, how did you first get inspired for learning? Like, what was it or who was it that did something for you that you went, oh my gosh, you know what? I really enjoy this.
That's a little tough because ever since I was young, I've always loved learning. Even as a child, I played with toys that encouraged problem solving, and I wouldn't play, you know, sports games or action games. I'd play more puzzle games and RPGs. So I always had this kind of affinity for learning. Nice. I definitely would say, ironically, like a lot of these answers, is that it kind of started around Don Estridge.
No.
Mainly because of my teachers. I remember I had, like, Mr. Fraley.
Mm-hmm.
Again, like, he helped me learn. He was a very strict guy, as you probably know. But that was almost good for me because, you know, you don't really learn much when you are kind of just left alone and are told everything you're doing is good. It's more so he would pressure his students and push them as hard as he could, and you would see the results.
Right.
And that really inspired me to push myself into more difficult situations and learn things that I would have had no idea learning, especially because, as I mentioned earlier, with the fact that I didn't even want to do music.
Right.
Like, my mom had to pressure me into doing band, and I
Wow. So it wasn't your own choice? Mom forced you?
Yeah,
Go
my mom
Mom.
kind of pressured me. Like, she
Go
didn't
Mom.
force me like at gunpoint, but like she definitely pressured me. Like, I really want you to do this. Like, it's gonna be really good for you. And I thought it was so lame. I thought it was gonna be the lamest thing ever, and it's the best decision she ever made in my life.
Well, that's awesome. It's always good when that happens. It's always good when somebody sees the forest beyond the trees, as it were, because again, you're just too young to figure it out for yourself, and sometimes you need that, and you're very, very thankful for those things. You're very appreciative over the fact that it did, because ultimately it seems like this is the career path. This is where it's going. And again, you found a niche that needs to be filled. And that's when it's even more important, because it's not like you're competing with all of these other people, because very few people are doing it. You are the trailblazer, it seems like to me.
That feels very good.
It really does, because I keep telling my students all the time, you have to make sure that you're going to pick a major that in 4 years after you've gone to college is still going to exist, especially now with AI taking over all these jobs. You don't want to go to school and then have something that AI can do. And now it's like, well, that degree is a giant piece of toilet paper.
It's terrifying. It's so scary.
Has
there's been moments where I am like, should I switch majors? It's sunk cost. I've already done 3.5 years, but I don't know.
And so that's it. The cost is so unbelievable. Everything is so expensive. You have to be aware. Like, we're starting all of these things for the kids to do where they have career planning. Like, we're doing this Zello stuff where they're, trying to decide what they like, what they don't like. And they're like, why are we doing this? I go, college is very expensive. And if you can figure out what it is that you want to do before you even go to college, you won't waste time and, or more importantly, money taking classes that you're like, I don't really like this. I go, we didn't have those opportunities when I was in high school. You should be grateful for it. And again, you're talking to people who just don't understand, because they think they have a breadth of knowledge about everything, and they don't. They think that they understand everything, and they don't. You're just, again, like the old ancient Chinese proverb, when the student is ready, the teacher appears. And for some of these people, the teacher has appeared. For other people, it's taken a little time. And for some of them, the teacher never shows up. But hey, this is life. Like the old adage, how many times did it take you to touch the hot stove before you realized it was hot? And everyone's different. Everyone sees things their own way, because, again, we have our own perspective. We have our own experience. So was there that teacher that really made the light bulb turn on? Maybe, like you said, it was somebody from the Don that you were like, they're the ones that got me to go, I like this. I like music. I like computers. I know you mentioned Mr. Thing and Mr. Fraley. Was there maybe a core teacher that did that for you?
Yeah, again, there's a lot at the Don. The Don has just been, at least when I went, I'm sure it's still this way, but just known for its great teachers. In terms of core teachers, ironically, because we're talking right now, I'm thinking of this now, but definitely you, Mr. Proper. Because...
Yeah, I'll slip you that $20 Venmo after we're done. Thank you so much. Can
you make it 25?
Not a problem. Whatever you need. All right,
thank you.
I'm here for you, brother.
But yeah, I remember right before we started recording, we were talking about this. I wouldn't say a problem child, but I definitely talked a lot in your class, and
sure,
for the lack of a better term, kind of talked back sometimes, and definitely it definitely took me a little bit to grasp your teaching style.
Sure.
I remember early on, I would often do really poorly on your assignments, and it wasn't because I was stupid or anything. It's because I didn't.
By far not. No, This child is not the stupid one. No.
Thank you. I'll give you 25 as well. Thank you.
Oh, please. I don't need it on that one. That was an easy one. That was a cream puff.
Thank you. But yeah, it was more so because I wasn't following the directions properly. And I'd get home after I get these bad...
Properly, you're funny.
Well, I'd get home after these assignments, I get them back, and I'd be like, oh, Mr. Proper's so annoying. I'm just so mad. I hate his class. It's horrible. But eventually, you kind of led me on the right track and helped me. You broke down exactly what I was doing wrong, and by the end of the year, I ended up being a much stronger student, and started getting better grades in your class, and I had less issues. Even
because it came down to
grasping.
two things: listening and following directions.
Exactly.
And if you're not doing those two things, you can't do whatever you want. You can't just decide, I understand that my taxes need to be post-dated by April 15th or else they're late. You can't just decide to say, you know what, I don't feel like doing it then. You're going to get in trouble. The government's going to come after you. They're going to fine you. It doesn't work that way. And that's the way real life is. But a lot of these kids, apparently yourself included, didn't seem to see it that way. Because at 13 years old, let's be honest, what do you really know? You know,
I didn't see it until I witnessed it in my adult life.
Wow.
Like, it's like, for example, like the tax thing is a great example. You probably remember this as well. I had a very bad issue with deadlines. Yes. I was horrible with deadlines. And it wasn't like I didn't even do the work. It was like I would do the work, but I wasn't paying attention enough to turn it in properly or turn it in on time.
That was the argument I would have with Jacob all the time. I'm like, Jacob, turn the work in. I know it's done. Just go get it. What do you mean?
Exactly.
I'm like, it was due yesterday. And then, but what happened is, though, on the other side, I don't know if you remember, but the kids would get so mad because they're like, how come you're taking it from him and it's not late? I'm like, because it's in the bag and it's completed. He just forgot to hand it in. Yeah. He didn't work on it last period. And you're like, no, I did it yesterday. And I'm like, I know you did it yesterday, but you have to turn it in on time. And these are just little parts of life. You know, you show up late to the job, the boss isn't going to be happy. You continue to show up late to the job, you're not going to have one. And
middle school prepares you for real life way more than you'd expect, and I did not realize that until I finally got thrown out into real life and had to use those things I learned.
And I'm appreciative of that because that's what we try to do here. We're trying to teach the kids about real life skills, you know, how to communicate with people, how to write an email, how to talk to people nicely. You get more flies with honey than you do with vinegar. I don't care how mad you are. I don't care how mad your mother is at you and me. You still need to talk to me like a normal person. You still need to be nice. You can't just be angry and expect people are going to listen to you. But these are things that we learn. They're life experiences. I'm just trying to teach it in the classroom, and I'm glad that here you are at this point in your life. You recognize that, and you're able to vocalize and say it because it's greatly appreciated. Because a lot of the kids, they don't. A lot of the kids, they're just kind of like, you know, I'm the jerk forever. I have one kid all the time who he runs into former students and I'm like, oh, so-and-so, they still hate me? Yes. And I'm like, well, you know, they need to get over the fact that I caught them cheating. And they're like, they constantly blame you. And I go, I know, I'm an adult. I get how it works. No one wants to admit that they have done something wrong and got caught for it. It's always somebody else's problem. So
another thing as well that I learned a lot in your class was, I remember, like, you know, you were very good with having specified, like, this day is going to be a notes day. I'm going to lecture about, you know, Paul Revere, and we're going to highlight and annotate throughout the day. And then maybe like later at the end of the week, we'll annotate like a Hamilton song and break down how that relates to what we learned. And that really helped me because before then, it was kind of hard to correlate when in class is just boring work and then more of like a fun time kind of day. And your kind of class was a lot more relatable to me and helped me kind of structure, this is a day where I have to be paying a lot more attention and this is going to be a day where I can discuss more. So that was another thing I learned a lot in your class due to your teaching style.
Oh, I appreciate that. So yeah, we all come across these things and have to learn how the teacher relates and how the teacher works and what they want. Because ultimately, it's what the teacher wants. It's not what you want. Maybe that has worked in some of your classes, but that's not the way real life works. There's a reason for what they do. There's rhyme to the reason. You may not understand it, and Jacob is here to tell you that he gets it now. And he's willing to admit as well, he didn't always get it when he was 13, but now he does because he realizes it makes sense. But at the time, you don't get it. Sometimes, like they say, you just have to go with it. You just have to go, all right, I might not understand what they're doing here, but the guy's been doing this for a long time, and he must know what he's doing. Oh, my gosh. Wow. So was there something specific about myself or the other teachers that the aha connection was there a little bit better? Was it a connection that we made? Was it my teaching style? Was it the other teacher's teaching style? Was it just relatability? What do you think it was where you were like, okay, I'm listening. I'm finally listening here. This is making sense.
Well, I'm going to bring in one more Don Estro's teacher, Miss Adamo.
Oh, yeah.
Her class
very popular.
was brutal. like before Miss Adamo's class, I hated hard classes. I felt they were unfair. I felt like I didn't learn enough from them. I felt like the teacher was just out to get you and fail you.
Wow.
And Miss Adamo on the first day, it was scary. Like she had this, she sat everyone down and had like this lecture of like, yeah, this is gonna be a hard class, and I'm gonna work you until you're like exhausted. Like, and I was scared, but she's the sweetest lady ever. So sweet, and
Sure.
she made it very clear.
Tough. She's just
she's tough.
She's a tough teacher, but she's a really nice person. You know,
Yeah,
that's
it's
the
a very
difference.
tough love thing where like
Yes, perfect way
I
to
was
say
able
it.
to see it through her actions and her words that she pushed us so hard, not because she's out to get us, but because that was her way of making us learn, was through, hardship. And
Not only learn, but make you better students.
Oh, yeah.
Make you more well-rounded. Work on things that you've never done before. Do things that you've never done before. And that's it. A lot of people just go, "Oh, they're mean teacher," and this and that. No. You have just had like the easiest time up until this point, and they're just trying to show you that life is not always sunshine and lollipops and easy, and that sometimes you have to put in the work or success is just not coming. And
I think like the big, I'm sorry to interrupt.
No, go ahead.
I think the big aha moment with her was around when we started reading To Kill a Mockingbird, which is still my favorite book of all time.
For sure.
Me and Mr. Popper were talking about this a little earlier, but prior to Miss Adamo's class, most of the English classes I went through, we'd read these books and the teachers would talk about what the meaning was, and I'm thinking like, why am I doing this? Why am I reading this book? I'm not really reading it. I'm just kind of like scanning the pages and the teacher explains it. Miss Adamo's class was one of the first times where I really read something and fully grasped it for the first time. And with To Kill a Mockingbird, it was fascinating reading such a strong book that was just so complex and had all these different parts that, just was such a great commentary on society at the time and in some ways can still apply to today. And I just learned so much about comprehensive reading and just the English language and everything in general.
Well, for the first time, it seems like you weren't spoon-fed the information.
Oh, yeah.
And your own intellectual curiosity took over and it paid off because you were like, well, what does this mean? Or what are they trying to say? Or like you said, how does this relate to when it was versus today? How does this still apply today? Like, the book is like 50 something years old and yet it still does apply. There are things that are similar. So it's incredible because, there's some point in time where you open up your mind and you just start to take it in and you just run with it. Like, even though you've been handed it so many times, here you took the lead because, again, the book itself is so interesting. It's so tiered. There's so many levels of things that are going on. There's so many things that are in the periphery, and you have to be paying attention. It's so well written. Even the fact that it's S.E. Hinton. It's written by a woman, but they had to put their initials on it so it would seem like a man wrote it. The only person I can think of in modern day was J.K. Rowling, that she wouldn't put her name on it. And then all of a sudden it became so famous and people are like, you're not the author of this. And she's like, yeah, that's me, and they're So sometimes it's time for our own exploration. It's time for us to figure out what things mean on our own. We don't always need to be told. We need guidance, and I'm sure she took you guys by the hand and she walked you through it, but she wasn't like, okay, so this is Jem and her personality is. No, it was for you to figure it out. And then one day you went, oh my God, there it is. I see it. And that's
just fascinating having this knowledge just click and fall into place, and it was great. And like, I think the best part was Miss Adamo kind of bragged a little bit. I think at the beginning of the year, she was saying, like, don't worry, like, the hardship in my class is worth it because I have my students come back to me in high school and say, like, I passed my AP exam and it's because of you. And she isn't lying. I got, I think it was 2 AP English classes, and I passed both of them, I think 4s and 5s.
Nice.
And I got out of my college English classes twice. I got the, requirement wave twice because I did so good on both exams.
That's awesome.
So I haven't even had to touch English, and it's because of how hard her class was, kind of made up for that and just pushed me to become so strong in the language. I got straight A's in high school with English. I didn't do good in her class. So I really learned at a high school level because of her strong teaching.
Right. And no offense to middle school, but to be honest, high school is where it really matters. So if you didn't do so well in middle school, that's okay. But you were able to turn it around in high school when it was actually more important, because now that's a determinant of where you get to go to college. Doing really well on those tests, doing really well on those things, and being prepared. That's what it's all about. But a lot of people can't see it. A lot of people don't see that. They, like I said, they don't see the forest beyond the trees. You know, they can't see that the struggle today is going to make it easier for tomorrow. And when you're a kid, you just don't get that because you don't have too many of those situations. You know, you don't have too many of those. And then all of a sudden it happens and you're like, whoa, wait a minute. And that's when the light bulb turns on and you start to go, okay, it was worth doing it. It was worth that it was hard. So speaking of which, if you could turn back time and tell your 8th grade self some advice, what would you tell them? And as I've added to the question, because I know the answer for me is definitely a hard no, but what would you believe yourself? Like if you came back and you're like future Jacob to Jacob now, or would you be able to say, oh yeah, what would that advice be? And would you listen, are my question.
So if I could talk to my 8th grade self, I would probably tell them to probably pay better attention. I mean, it's something I struggle with even now, but I was very good and still am at paying attention and getting invested in things I really enjoy. If there's a lesson I don't really enjoy, it's a lot harder for me to pay attention.
Of course.
I've fallen into a lot of traps with that later in life with school, where, especially in high school, school kind of builds upon itself. What you learned the last year kind of gets built upon this year. It's not as much of middle school where every year is kind of its own self-contained thing.
Right.
So I wish I told my 8th grade self that. I think, I actually, it's funny, it relates to the music thing. I explicitly remember there was this like big sale on music software that was going on. And I was like on my phone, like wish listing all these things. And it was in your class, and I got my phone taken away.
Oh no!
By you.
What a horrible teacher I am.
Mr. Proper. But that was for the best, because I ended up paying attention to the lesson after that, and that was, I think, later in the year when I started to do better in Mr. Proper's class. So it's something I struggled with a lot back then, was attention and focusing, and it's something I still kind of struggle with now, but I definitely gotten better at that because of what I've learned over the years and these strategies. So I think recognizing that if I pay more attention now to the things I don't find as much interest in, it would require less attention later, and I could put more attention later into the things I care about. I don't know if I'm phrasing that properly, but...
Well, it reminds me of another interview I did with the kid Samit, and he went to UF, and he basically said the same thing. He was like, I would try to find something that I liked in something I didn't. I would look and look and look, or relate it to sports or something, and I would just try to turn it around into something that I could like, and all of a sudden that made it okay. Everyone has their own way of doing things. You know, everyone has their own way to figure out, all right, I have to do this. I don't have a choice, but how am I going to make it worth doing even though I don't want to do it? Exactly.
Yeah. I definitely know 8th grade me definitely would be like, because one issue I had a lot with studies, and I was a very arrogant student. So 8th grade me would probably be like, I know what I'm talking about. Like what I don't need to study better. I don't need to focus better. Like what Mr. Proper is talking about, what Miss Adamo is talking about, like it's I already know all of it. Why do I have to listen? Why I'm just sitting here doing nothing? But that's not true. I don't actually know it. A lot of things in middle school, students definitely probably know on a surface level. Like, we know who George Washington was. We know, that there was segregation back in the day. But what the middle school teachers are teaching isn't the surface level things. It's kind of the finer details. That's what you develop in middle school and have to apply in high school.
Right. And a lot of them don't understand that. They're like, well, why do I need to learn this stuff? Why do I need to learn these details? Because it's what the details are is what makes up what it is. You can learn the surface information, which everyone knows, but once you start getting into, as some people call it, the minutia, that's when you really are showing your intellect, because you understand that this is the deeper aspect. Once you start figuring out who the characters are, what they're all about, why they are the way they are, everything takes time. Like, they develop all these people. This didn't just happen to happen. The writer wrote this on purpose for a reason. Now your job is to figure out what that reason is. And to add to that, Cliff Notes or whatever the kids are using, I guess apparently ChatGPT now, that's not going to tell you those little things. That's why you need those teachers, because ChatGPT can't read a book and tell you what the author's intent was. That's why your teacher went to college. That's why your teacher studies English, studied these books, and is now teaching these books. Like, a lot of people don't get it. They just think, oh, I know how to read. Why do I need to do this? I'm like, no, that's not what it's doing. So along this line, what was your most challenging educational experience, and how did you overcome that challenge? Did it also maybe make you become a better student or a better person?
Well, actually, ironically, it relates to that arrogance I mentioned. It kind of lasted until the end of high school. I remember in my senior year, I had a calculus class, and for the midterm, I was just so confident in my ability. I've been doing all the homework from what I thought was correct, because the homework in math is usually completion.
Right.
So, I was turning all the homeworks. I got like 100. I had 100 in the class. Even if I didn't fully understand it, I was thinking, okay, like, how bad can I do on this midterm, right? Like, if I get like a 70 or even a 60, like, I'll be fine in the class, and my semester grade will be like an 80 or something. And I was so wrong. That was the hardest test I ever took in my life, and
wow.
I don't even want to talk about what I got on it, but I bombed it, and I was so scared that I thought I failed the class. It was that bad. So after that, I wrote an email to my teacher, basically saying, like, her name was Miss Sullivan, probably the best math teacher I ever had. I said, "Hi, Miss Sullivan. Like, I saw the bad grade I got. I don't really know what happened. Can you explain in detail exactly what led me to get this grade, and I could review it and maybe do a little better?" And she responded with kind of a Miss Adamo tough love kind of way, where it was like, yeah, you didn't really know anything on the exam. Here's your homeworks you turned in. Yeah, they're completion, but I mean, you're missing certain. Right. Not much of it's right. The ones that are right are missing steps. And I like, it was just like eye-opening to me. I was like, okay, I really just don't know anything I'm learning in this class, and I was just way too arrogant.
The teacher actually knows what they're talking about. She can identify what the problem is by looking at your homework and going, you didn't do it right. How do you expect to do it on the test if you couldn't even do it on the homework?
Exactly. So eventually, after talking, she kind of helped me out with the grade a little bit in exchange for some extra credit work she gave me. And then for the second semester, I had a close relationship with her. I'd go ask questions, email her often. Right. I'd ask her to reinforce things. And again, we developed a close relationship. She was, again, I got that terrible grade in the first semester, and I didn't hold it against her. I learned so much from that. And I came out pretty strong by the end. I did good on the final, and I'm going to school for STEM. Even though I'm not the strongest math student, it's very important in my major, and she even tutored me a lot for my harder math classes in college, so I kind of turned that really challenging moment into a big learning experience, and I'm very humble with education. That's now. Awesome. I think it's very important to be humble when it comes to education, because you can't learn if you think you know everything.
Of course, and you don't. You don't know everything. You're learning, you're trying to figure it out as you go. This is what education is. We all don't know everything. That's why you're in school. We need teachers to teach it to us. There's a reason why these people went to college for all these years. There's a reason why they study these things. But again, kids don't get that. They just think, they're here because they hate kids and, there's nothing else for them to do. I'm like, no, they enjoy what they're doing, but you're not making it easy to do it. You're not making it easy for them. If you're sitting there and listening and taking notes and asking pertinent questions that actually move the discussion along rather than derail it to the other end. And I think for kids, that's what they get frustrated with me, because you give me the worst class clown and I'll put them to town and they don't understand why. And I said, look, dudes, I have comebacks that are older than you and still funny. I go, I don't even have to think anymore. You're making this up as you go along. You don't think I've had another you in the last 27 years? I've had hundreds of you. So I'm prepared. I'm a seasoned veteran. And what's crazier is I'm actually probably a lot more calm and mellow than when you had me. I say that all the time to the kids. I'm like, now that it's coming down to the end, I just don't let these things bother me anymore. I can't change you as a 13-year-old. If you choose to change, that's your choice. If you choose not to, guess what? That's a choice too. So I'm just doing my thing. I can't fix you. It's not my fault that you're this way, but you're also not going to ruin my hour of time that I'm trying to teach you, because the other kids want to learn. And as I said to the kids, that's how you know as a teacher you've made a difference with the kids, is when some kid does something that you would be annoyed at. And before you could even say anything, one of the other kids come back and says, hey, you can't do that, or we're trying to do this here. And they shut it down for you. That to me is like the biggest thank you, that you've really made a difference with kids and that they're listening and that they actually like you. That they're like, well, I want to learn what this guy has to say. Stop trying to just waste time. And that to me is just, the best possible thing, because it shows that the kids really, care about you and what's going on in the class, which is just really nice.
Yeah.
So was there something that you learned about Don Estridge as a school after you left its hallowed halls? What did high school show you that you didn't know that Don taught you? Like, is there something that you learned at Don Estridge and you went to Don Estridge and left? Sorry, you left Don Estridge and then went to high school and went, because it always takes a minute to appreciate or sometimes remember what it is that that you've took away from this experience of middle school.
Yeah. Now this isn't really in regards to education specifically, but I definitely kind of wish I was a little more proud of being at Don Estridge, because I loved Spanish River. I loved my teachers and I loved my classes, but Spanish River is notorious for having mediocre and bad clubs in school and school sports.
Okay.
And Don Estridge is the opposite. Don Estridge is the top of the top for everything. So I didn't grasp how almost like, what's the word? Like morale.
Well-rounded?
Like more like morale, kind of like detrimental to one's morale. It could be for your school to constantly get all have no awards, lose all these things. And
sure.
Spanish River's education is great, but in terms of like the extracurriculars and clubs and sports, now it might be different since I've left. I think they were doing a little better in my senior year, but aside from the band, Spanish River, I think the drama was good too. But aside from that, like the sports and stuff was not as good as Don Estridge's, and I kind of wish I didn't take that for granted, because
high school is totally different because now sports are at night.
That's true.
It's Friday night. You're out with all your friends. You're having fun. You're doing all these things. Whereas, in middle school, it's like right after school, and that's it. They make a bigger deal about these things in high school. But yeah, you're right. By us having all these quality teams and winning sports all the time, it makes it fun to be around. The volleyball team's good, the baseball team's good, the basketball team's good. Like even our teams that didn't necessarily win the championships, we were going to the championships. We were having winning records. We were doing well. So it's you don't realize that. It's kind of like if you're big into sports like I am, like it ebbs and flows. When I was a little kid and I first started watching my New Jersey Devils, they were just god awful. And then when I became an adult, they started winning championships and then winning championships. And then, of course, I took it for granted thinking, oh, they're going to win championships forever. And, of course, that doesn't happen. And then, they haven't won a championship in over 20 years. So, it's a long time. So you have to understand that not everything happens the way you think it does, that over time, it's cyclical, and especially in middle school. Because in middle school, what happens is that the kids age out, that eventually you're in 8th grade and then you have to leave because you're in high school. So we're constantly, re-upping, recouping, getting new people, and that's a difficult thing to deal with when the turnover is just immense.
Another thing as well is I kind of took for granted how nice Don Estridge is. Like, I guess in terms of like its infrastructure or architecture, I guess.
Yes.
Or in terms of how up to date it is with everything.
Clean.
Spanish River. It's clean. Yeah. Like Spanish River. Again, I hate to trash on my high school because I loved going there and I had a great time. The best years of my life were my senior year of high school. I had such a great time. And that's when things were getting better. But when I first went, the school hadn't gone through renovations in like 20 years.
Right.
And like they just started doing student IDs. There were like no shades outside in the courtyard. Like, it was very outdated. It's a very outdated school.
For sure.
One notorious thing about high school, Spanish River High School, when I went, there was just no internet at all throughout most of the high school. Don Estridge, like I'm pretty sure you can get service anywhere. With Spanish River, like basically, except for the courtyard, you couldn't even get cell service. It was really bad.
Wow.
Students actually had to download VPNs to like
Oh
even be
my
able to like
God.
text their parents. It was
Oh
bad.
my God. That's
And
terrible.
it got a lot better in my senior year. I think it's like basically perfect now, but it's definitely one of those things that like you don't really think about and you take for granted, and those resources and just the
Oh, for
aspects
sure.
of through which you get your education.
Oh, for sure. You don't see that. Like I tell people all the time, the internet to me is currently the worst part of education. That
Oh
the
yeah.
internet is just so bad that without it, you're lost. Like you said, it just doesn't work, and now it's frustrating, and you can't do what you're supposed to do, and it just becomes an issue. So there are many aspects to this technological advancements that yes, it's good, but when it doesn't work, you're out of luck. There's nothing you can do about it. So many times the kids are like, "Oh, the internet's down and it doesn't work." It's challenging. It
Yeah.
definitely is. Well, it's good to know that the Don has taught you all kinds of lessons and that you've been able to, you know, pull from this time period in your life where you probably thought it was more challenging at the time than what it needed to be. But reality is you're grown up enough now to realize, hey, wait a second. I needed those hardships in order for me to be able to be successful in the future, and that's what it did. So thank you for being able to acknowledge those things. Thank you for being able to be mature enough to realize what we were trying to accomplish back when we were doing it. Not just, oh, these people are mean and they're just trying to make my life miserable
It's
and
the
why are they
easy
doing this?
mindset to get into when you're
Oh,
a
for
middle school
sure.
student.
It's incredible, and that's a good thing because that shows maturity, that shows growth, and you weren't holding on to animosity, and it wasn't like, oh, these people are horrible, they're trying to make my life miserable. No, we're trying to expand you as human beings. We're trying to show you that not it's hard to say it because whenever you say it, it sounds arrogant that we're right and you're wrong. It's not about right and wrong. It's just about how things work in life. This is the way to do it. It's not necessarily the right way, but it's the way. And because whenever you start saying right and wrong, then people get mad because they feel like, oh, well, then what I'm doing is wrong. No, you're just doing it a difficult way. You can do math the hard way, you can do math the easy way. And it's just, look, teachers are asking you to do certain things because, again, can you listen and follow directions? Because when you go to work, most employers don't want you to just freelance and do whatever it is that you want. They want you to say, okay, I can follow directions. I can do this. I can do that. That's what they want. They don't want people who are making their own decisions because that's not what bosses want. So that's a really good lesson that you can teach. And I'm really glad that you said that. And a lot of the things you've said, which are really good that you learned about, that you saw. So as I end all these podcasts, Jacob, I just want to know, do you remember who Don Estridge was, what he did?
I do. I remember learning in Don Estridge specifically that he created the PC, but more specifically, he was the IBM computer engineer who led the project behind the PC. So he not only just made it himself, but he kind of led all the other talented engineers with his specific computer science knowledge to create this like amazing product that has put computing technology in all of our homes. Thank you.
Ta-da! Way to go. Way to go. So it helps probably that Jacob is a computer scientist and he's studying this. And I'm sure I love to stump all my engineer friends and going, do you know who Don Estridge is as a person? And they're like, I know the name. I can't remember, blah, blah, blah. And I'm just like, you should know because without it, you wouldn't have a job. But that's
True.
amazing that you knew. But again, you took a class. We have his computer at the school. We have all of these things. And it really shows that you remember, and it's important. Yeah. So Don Estridge was an IBM facility that we bought from IBM at a really low cost because they didn't need it anymore. We reappropriated it and turned it into the school that I work and Jacob went to, and many of you are still going to. And Don Estridge invented the personal computer in that building. We have his personal computer that his family gifted us, which was super nice. And that made a giant difference because I see that every day and it puts a smile on my face. Unfortunately, him and his wife, I believe, died in a plane crash in 1984. They were going to a conference to talk about computing and how it was going to change the world. And then Unfortunately, their plane crashed, but the family donated a computer, which is super cool. Well, Jacob, I wanted to say thank you so much on behalf of myself, the How I Got Here podcast, and all of my students for you coming on and telling your story, because you really make a difference, and you really show how hard work in and out of the classroom pays off. You found a passion in music, you found a passion in computer engineering, coding, and then you joined the two. And like they say, do you ever see the movie The Social Network?
I have, yes. That's a great movie.
I love that movie. In it, the Winklevoss twins are complaining with the dean of students, going, "Mark stole our idea." And the chancellor says, "Well, people don't come to Harvard to get a job. People come to Harvard to make a job." And then he goes, the Winklevoss twins goes, "We can't make another Facebook. This is one of one." And it just showed how out of touch the chancellor was. But you're not. Like, you're with it. You understand what's going on. You understand that here are two of my favorite things, and I'm going to meld them into one. And not many people can do that. Because like they say, the old adage, if you do what you enjoy for work, you're never going to work another day for the rest of your life, because you're enjoying it. And that's what it seems like. You're having a good time and you're enjoying it. So again,
I love it.
I'm so glad. I'm so happy you found your passion, because that's what life is all about, finding your passion. So again, thank you so much for coming on. It's greatly appreciated.
Thank you for having me. I really appreciate it.
Thank you. Thank you for listening to How I Got Here podcast with Mr. Proper. Music provided by Miss Mata. Thank you to Patty Fernandez for the introduction. Thank you to Seth Proper for logistics and behind-the-scenes production. Join us next time for another episode of How I Got Here and more stories of former students and their journey.